Yo, what up? It's Amaje back with another video. And this video is on Sports Skeeta and it's a WWE video. And it's about wrestlers that were released in 2024 and where are they now? So, man, first wrestler that comes to mind is probably just going to be Baron Corbin. Bro, Baron Corbin was doing such good work. He had the gimmick of Bro Corbin. That was pretty good. And then after that, they're going back and forth of being heel. He went to NXT. NXT was like his like redemption arc. He had so much stuff going there. They shouldn't have let him go. I mean, I know they said they let his contract expire, quote unquote. I don't believe him, but he should have stayed in WWE. Man, but hey, let's see what this list is about.
Every year WWE releases superstars, it's basically clockwork at this point. It's a part of the rotating wheel that never stops, and when some come in, others go out. There were some pretty shocking releases this year, and it wasn't exclusive to the superstars we see on the screen. For example, longtime employee Sue Aitchison was released. If you don't know who she is, she's one of the main names responsible for WWE's partnership with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. She was inducted into the WWE
Oh,
Hall of Fame class of 2019 when she won the Warrior Award. Some of the names whose contracts expired were Becky Lynch, Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Ricochet, so they're not counted on this list. A large chunk of the releases tend to happen in the developmental stage, and some of the more prominent names released from NXT include Amari Miller, Zion Quinn, Scripps, formerly known as Reggie, and Gable Steveson. Gable Steveson was signed with the hopes of being the modern day
hmm.
Kurt Angle, but everything just went downhill and WWE decided to cut their losses with both him and his brother Damon Kemp. This list focuses on the major main roster releases in 2024.
I feel like they really dropped the ball on him. I don't know what was going on. I guess he wasn't improving or anything, but I guess like it was so cringe when he came out at, like I think Burt versus Baron Corbin on the NXT think pay-per-view. Bro, it was just so bad. People were booing the hell out of him. I don't know why. I guess he just couldn't get over
And
it.
we're going to look at what led to them being cut and what they're doing now. Jinder Mahal. 8 years after his return to WWE, Jinder Mahal was released for the second time in 10 years. Being the first WWE champion of Indian descent, his reign in 2017 got a lot of people talking as he shockingly went from an enhancement talent to a main eventer within a week. The WWE Championship run was really the peak of his overall wrestling career, and he was at the right place at the right time. WWE, particularly Vince McMahon, was eyeing India as a lucrative market and pushed for a major name to represent the nation of over 1.3 billion people. Unfortunately, the entire approach was rushed and completely botched, and Mahal had a WWE title reign that could be more accurately described as infamous. Still, he was the 50th man to be recognized as WWE Champion, a feat nobody can take away from him. He had an 8-day reign as United States Champion in 2018, but numerous injury spells kept him out for a while, and in 2024, he shockingly emerged as a world title contender. That and his interaction with The Rock would be his last hurrah, and in April, he announced that he was moving on. He's still the Mahara, competing on the independent scene, and he's a very busy man. He's been a part of the recently created Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling promotion from former TNA figure Scott D'Amore, and is on a bit of a world tour, competing in France and having future dates in Australia in 2025.
Man, you know what? I'm glad to see Jinder win, bro. Bro, he basically been through so much, bro. Released two times in like 10 years. Like, bruh, like, it was like always a famous quote, don't hinder Jinder, my boy.
He's going to be alongside the two men who helped him become world champions, the Singh brothers, aka the Bollywood Boys. Jinder Mahal has wasted no time in making a name for himself. Veer Mahan and Sangha. Veer Mahan is one of the most comically bizarre cases on this year's WWE release list. He was signed to
Oh,
WWE after his
shit.
baseball career ended and was a performance center creation. It only took 3 years to make his main roster debut, and he aligned with Jinder Mahal in a short-lived faction. Seeing some singles potential in him, WWE separated him from Jinder Mahal and fellow Indian star Shanky in the 2021 draft. This was when the Veer is Coming promos began, and it followed the same playbook as the Emelina in 2016 and 17. The Veer is coming turned out to be an inside joke from people within WWE, and it was only after WrestleMania 38 when he finally returned and took out the Mysterios. He defeated both Rey and Dominic Mysterio in separate singles matches, and it seemed like a promising start, but he completely vanished into thin air before returning to NXT months later. He reunited with his old partner Sanga, who is also a part of this list. They once again flipped back onto the main roster and got drafted to Raw together, but after an absence and an unsuccessful set of matches, they were cut from WWE. Fightful reported that it was due to the budget cuts, and Sanga commented in a video on social media that WWE wants to enter the Indian market while not giving Indian superstars any opportunities to shine. Both members of
I mean, he has a point. Like WWE can't like keep saying they're gonna give they want to enter that market and not like give people a shot. I mean, like look how they book these like Indian descent like people. They had Shanky dancing. Oh, that's like the fucking gimmick. Like you're just gonna like be a jobber. You know what I mean? Look at the Great Khali years ago, bro. He was like feared upon. You remember that like little part where he crushed Rey Mysterio's head, and when we thought Rey Mysterio like it was it for Rey Mysterio. I can't say the other word on YouTube, I guess. Well, like when we were a kid, we thought Rey Mysterio was gone, but then he turned into a jobber after that and started dancing. But like, if they're gonna do this, they have to like take another approach to this and like see what they're doing before they do something stupid like this again.
Indashir are now back in their home country of India, where they're connecting with their roots again while maintaining top physical shape. Xia
That's
Li.
good.
We want to say that Xia Li's release was one of the saddest ones in 2024, but in reality, she's doing perfectly fine right now. Her 7-year tenure ended in WWE, with Xia Li becoming the first Chinese woman to compete in WWE. She also made history by becoming the first Chinese wrestler to enter the Royal Rumble match. It felt like she was one of the most underutilized women on the roster, and she was unfortunately grouped with Jinder Mahal and Indashir in the budget cuts. Her journey was a really hard one. She moved across the world to the United States from a completely different country and culture, China. She didn't even speak English when she arrived in the United States, and she made her way while learning a language drastically different from her own and adapted and made friends along the way. There seems to be a lot of respect for her within the WWE locker room, with Xia Li revealing that Becky Lynch went out of her way to help her and have a small program in 2023. She now goes by the name Lei Ying Li and is signed to TNA, a company that has a great track record in handling their female superstars. She also made her debut for Game Changer Wrestling and is looking to solidify herself as a big name in professional wrestling. We wouldn't be surprised to see her performing all around the world soon. Cameron Grimes.
She was actually pretty one, like a pretty one that I didn't even like see that was gonna get released. Like every time she came out, I just was like kind of mind boggled. I don't even know where she even where they was hiding her at, bro. Like when she came out and attacked, I forgot who. Yeah, she attacked Becky Lynch, I think. I can't remember that Raw. It was on Raw though. When she came out and attacked her out of nowhere, everybody was just like, "Who is that? Who is that?" Like that's how WWE just don't like give people enough time. But hopefully everything changes with this Netflix deal, man.
When Cameron Grimes was released a few days after Xia Li in April 2024, he posted a heartbreaking video where he broke down in tears. It was a painful one to watch if you were or are a Cameron Grimes fan, because he spoke from the heart about just how much he wanted to work and just how much he wanted to be a WWE superstar. He ended it on a positive note by thanking his fans and saying there was a fire lit under his backside to go somewhere else and prove to WWE why they were wrong. He was a big hit in NXT and had a successful run, especially when he was in that awesome storyline with Ted DiBiase and LA Knight. Technically speaking, Cameron Grimes is the last ever $1 Million champion, a prize title held by some of the greats in the wrestling industry. He further cemented his success by having a 2-month run as the North American champion. He was one of the superstars most negatively affected by the shift to NXT 2.0, with the introduction of some major names like Braun Breaker. He still managed to reinvent himself a little bit and enjoyed consistent TV time, but he was getting increasingly out of place in NXT after over 3 years, and it was time for him to move to the main roster. The issues began after he joined the main roster, however. He beat Baron Corbin in 6 seconds on his debut, only to get shoved to the side with occasional appearances and dark matches. WWE sent him packing with a loss to Braun Breaker, and his fate ended up being that of a guy who WWE had no creative plans for. Still, he had a mission to bounce back, and that's exactly what he's doing now under his real name, Trevor Lee. That fire under his backside has led him to becoming a busy man. He's doing great on the independent scene and has wrestled 20 matches since his WWE release, even heading to Canada and Australia to compete. Trevor Lee is in the best physical shape of his life, and it looks like he's going to be fine outside of WWE. He has a mature outlook on the lack of TV time he faced on WWE's main roster. He said that he had to pester writers every week to get a spot and admitted that the writers have a stressful job trying to figure everything out. He also acknowledged that it's not easy to get a slot in a 2-hour show, and it shouldn't be either because it's WWE and it's meant to be the top of the top. Ultimately, he believes that he didn't take the opportunities that were given to him well enough, and he views it as a learning lesson for himself in the future. At 31 years old, he essentially is in his early stages of his wrestling career and has a long and big future ahead of him. We wouldn't be surprised to see him back in a few years. Odyssey Jones. Odyssey
You know what? Hey man, I'm happy for Cameron Grimes. I actually really liked him in NXT. He was like a good wrestler. I mean, it's sad like stuff didn't like not work out for him because like I said before, I think the roster was just so bloated, bro. I don't know. I mean, I guess it was time for him to go up to the main roster already because NXT they didn't really have nothing else for him. They could have just put him in the North American title scene, doing something there. But I guess they got like limited spots occupied. But at least he's doing good.
Jones is the sole exception on this list because WWE was forced to release him even though they were pushing him on television. He had one of the weirdest WWE runs on this list. He was in NXT for less than 2 years and was featured as a part of weekly television before an injury in 2022 made him miss most of the year. In 2023, he was drafted to Monday Night Raw and vanished from the face of the earth. The only time Odyssey
Bro, it reminds me like a mini Mark Henry. I know that dude probably gets that a lot.
Jones was mentioned by fans was a running gag over his pointless draft from NXT to Raw. It took over a year for WWE to finally have something for him, and it was a good spot to be in. The ever-growing dissent between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods worsened when Kofi recruited Odyssey Jones to be on their side. He wasn't meant to replace Big E, but that was the story being told between Woods and Kingston. But
Like you
just as
falling over.
Odyssey Jones was getting momentum and finally in the spotlight, domestic violence allegations against him resurfaced. As per WWE's policy against domestic violence, they instantly cut ties with him and there hasn't been a word from him since. It's hard to imagine that he'll be back in WWE if the allegations turn out to be true. Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell felt
Bro.
like
Bro, that's so sad, bro. Allegations of any kind could just ruin any celebrity, like any famous person's career, bro. Like it's just like I just hate it. If they're not true, it's just like, well, who you're gonna blame? You could just all you can do is just sue them for defamation. That's pretty much it. But that's what happened to Enzo Amore. He didn't know those allegations were brought against him, and those charges were brought against him. Turns out he wasn't even guilty of them. And look what happened now.
she was just another name on the roster, which is a shame because she wasn't. She was making waves before she signed with WWE in 2019, and this was despite the fact that she was only 3 years into her wrestling career. Her run in NXT was a lot more enjoyable than the main roster because she was consistently associated with big names in the brand like Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano. Together with Austin Theory, they were the way, and it was an enjoyable but short-lived run they had together, even winning the NXT Women's titles. Nobody expected her to be the one to dethrone Roxanne Perez, but she at her moment enjoyed an impressive lineage of NXT Women's Champions. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to last.
Man, I didn't like the way they treated Indy, bro. They should have gave her so much more time. She was just cut to like the main roster so fast. And they didn't even really have nothing to do nothing to do for her. She dethroned Roxanne, got it, and then like nothing else happened after that. It was just messed up.
for her as an injury forced her to relinquish the title
Oh yeah,
and
well
give her the
yeah.
shortest reign in the history of the NXT Women's title. Her main roster run never took off, and it seems like even Candice LeRae benefited and got more TV time after Indy was
Well, I just had to watch the video more to even like know that. So I guess I mean, well, I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut like that whole sentence in half. I will edit it, but you know what I mean. I'm gonna like edit edit what I just said. But like, I guess she really didn't get chucked up like to the main roster, but like she just had the unfortunate fate of getting an injury.
released. The biggest problem is what we mentioned in the beginning. WWE built up such a strong women's roster that Indy Hartwell was just going to be another name. But she has a lot more to offer, and in hindsight, 2019 was probably not the best time for her to be in WWE. But at 28 years old, she has a long way to go. Considering how she was only released later in the year, she's currently going through a 3-month no-compete clause, and we presume that she's going to be back out there killing it. TNA looks like it would be a good fit for her, but whatever happens, she's likely going to return to WWE someday as a completely changed star. Tegan Nox. Tegan Nox's situation might be the only one on this list apart from Odyssey Jones where it's hard to blame WWE. Her release seemed to be a matter of when and not if. The Welsh star garnered a bit of a cult following throughout her time in NXT and WWE. People seem to recognize her talent, but numerous spells on the sidelines led to her getting tagged as injury prone, and WWE cut her out quickly in 2021 when it looked like they were releasing their whole roster. She was brought back under Triple H, but it hardly felt like she had an opportunity to shine on the main roster. She had a brief alliance with Natalya, but nothing came of it, and she spent most of 2024 kind of just sitting and catering. It was a shame that her second release came just 2 weeks before her birthday, but there really was nothing being done.
Wow, that's just messed up. I mean, her situation was just bad. Like he said, you can't really blame WWE for that, bro. She had so many injuries, man. Like she got injured in like the Mae Young Classic. She got I think she just got injured like a few years ago too, while she was in NXT, and then that was gone. So no wonder why she was marked as injury prone. It's just unfortunate like that. You can either have like some luck with that, or you just can't.
With her, and she seems eager to move on as well. She was advertised for an event in her home country Wales in December despite being in the midway point of her release clause, but issues that weren't specified led to her appearance being cancelled. She will be a free agent again as of late January 2025 and is looking to get back into the thick of it. Baron Corbin.
Okay.
The most notable WWE
Ah,
release in 2024 was Baron Corbin, and it wasn't even close. For years, Baron Corbin had the unfortunate reputation of being just another guy and a villain who people wanted to see just go away. But behind the scenes, he had a great attitude and grew over the years. After falling short of expectations when he was pushed in 2017, he still managed to maintain strong roles in WWE, although to many, he wasn't hitting the mark. His NXT run proved to be a career resurgence, and we saw a side of him that was never seen in WWE before. It took him quite a few years to get there, but it looked like he was finally ready to be taken seriously as a superstar on the main roster. The move to the main roster turned out to be a complete and utter waste. Why he was even called up from NXT is unknown because there were no plans whatsoever for him. Corbin found himself playing a good guy for the first time in 8 years on the main roster, but he just didn't fit into the creative plans of Triple H. It was an unfortunate side effect of having too many superstars on the main roster, and it felt like his second shot at the big time was completely squandered. Baron Corbin, a guy who many considered a WWE lifer, was axed after over a decade with the company. Unfortunately, he was one of those guys who was negatively affected by the change in regime, but not everything is bad. For one, he seems to have established a good relationship with the superstars who walked through the locker room in the last decade. In 2024, more fans than ever acknowledge that Baron Corbin is a legitimate talent who worked hard to get where he was. There won't be any shortage of companies willing to sign him, and hopefully he will make the right decision if he does get back into wrestling. It would be a shame if his career ended after WWE, because it seems like he has a lot more to offer in the world of wrestling. He seems to be doing just fine after life in WWE, coming in second and first place in jiu-jitsu competitions and cooking a mean steak. If no other company picks him up,
Yeah.
you best bet Food Network will. Unlike in the previous years, the releases we saw on the main roster, barring Odyssey Jones, didn't make it seem like WWE was firing them. For the most part, you can see that WWE simply had nothing for these superstars creatively and sent them packing in a more positive way, almost as if to tell them, "You're free, now show us what you got and prove us wrong." Like with most batches of releases, we're almost certainly going to have some returns at some point in the future. It's always sad to see people losing their jobs, but this is a list of very
Man, bro, this list is just so unfortunate. I wish luck to all these wrestlers, and I wish them luck on the indie scene, man. Wherever they go, I hope they just be stars and come right back to WWE, especially Baron Corbin, bro. I was actually like a good fan. You just have to like love to hate the guy when he was a heel. Like, man, I feel like he was doing good shit in NXT, like I said, but very unfortunate. But hey, if you guys like that video, I'm gonna be making some more WWE videos because I had a couple of people requested in my comments. It's for you guys, and I actually like WWE videos. But hey, leave a like and subscribe. Remember, it's free. Alright, I'll catch you guys later.
Fuck it, that income, oh yeah.